In the quiet suburb of Elmwood, where the streets were lined with aging oaks and forgotten dreams, Sarah and Mark Thompson found their perfect starter home. It was a Victorian relic, tucked away at the end of a cul-de-sac, its faded blue paint peeling like old skin. The price was suspiciously low, but the realtor assured them it was just a motivated seller. Sarah, a graphic designer with a penchant for vintage aesthetics, fell in love with the high ceilings and ornate crown molding. Mark, an accountant who thrived on logic and spreadsheets, saw it as a smart investment. They moved in on a crisp autumn afternoon, boxes stacked like tombstones in the hallway. That first night, as they lay in bed, exhausted from unpacking, Sarah heard it. A faint murmur like wind through cracks, but the windows were sealed tight. She nudged Mark. "Do you hear that? It sounds like whispering." Mark groaned, half asleep. "Probably the pipes settling. Old house, remember? Go back to sleep." She tried, but the sound persisted, a low, indistinct hum that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. It wasn't words, not yet, just a vibration that tickled the edges of her consciousness. By morning, it was gone, dismissed as fatigue. The whispers returned on the third night. This time they were clearer, seeping through the plaster like smoke. Sarah bolted upright, heart pounding. "Mark, listen!" He sat up, rubbing his eyes. The room was silent at first, but then it came. A soft, sibilant rustle, as if someone were pressing their lips to the wall and exhaling secrets. "It's the neighbors," Mark muttered, though the nearest house was 100 yards away. "Or maybe rodents. I'll call an exterminator tomorrow." But the exterminator found nothing. No nests, no droppings, no signs of life in the crawl spaces. "These old places have character," the man said with a wink. "Sometimes they talk back." Sarah laughed it off during the day, burying herself in work. But at night, the whispers grew bolder. They followed her from room to room, a chorus of hushed voices that blended into one another. She pressed her ear to the bedroom wall, straining to make out words. Help. Trapped. Walls. Was that it? Or was her mind filling in the gaps? Mark heard them too now, though he pretended not to. He'd wake up sweating, claiming nightmares, but Sarah saw the fear in his eyes. One evening, over dinner, she suggested researching the house's history. "Maybe there's a reason it's so cheap." Mark scoffed. "Don't turn this into a ghost hunt. It's just creaks and drafts." But Sarah couldn't let it go. Late that night, while Mark slept, she slipped downstairs to the study, her laptop glowing in the dim light. A quick search on the local historical society website revealed the house's grim past. Built in 1892 by a wealthy mill owner named Elias Hawthorne, it had been the site of an infamous tragedy. Elias, driven mad by debts and paranoia, had sealed his family inside during a brutal winter storm. His wife and 2 children starved to death, their bodies discovered weeks later, emaciated and frozen. Elias vanished, presumed suicide. Locals whispered that he'd entombed them alive in the walls, boarding up hidden compartments to hide his shame. Sarah's blood ran cold. The article included a grainy photo of the family, Elias with his stern mustache, his wife pale and hollow-eyed, the children staring blankly. She slammed the laptop shut, but the whispers surged, louder now, as if awakened by her discovery. "Free us. Break the walls." She shook Mark awake. "We have to leave. This house is cursed." He stared at her, bleary-eyed. "Sarah, you're scaring me. It's just a story. Old houses have histories." But the next day, things escalated. While hanging pictures in the living room, Sarah's hammer struck something soft behind the wallpaper. Peeling back a corner, she found a small, ragged hole, like a mouth. Air whistled through it, carrying a fetid stench of decay. Inside, glimpsed in the flashlight beam, was a scrap of fabric, yellowed lace like from a child's dress. Mark dismissed it as old insulation, but that night the whispers became screams, not audible to the ear but inside their heads, a cacophony of pleas and accusations. You hear us now. You know our pain. Join us. Sarah barricaded herself in the bathroom, rocking on the tile floor, hands over her ears. Mark pounded on the door, his voice frantic. Sarah, open up. When she finally did, her face was ashen. They're in the walls, Mark. The family. They're trapped, and they want out. Desperation drove them to action. The next morning, they hired a contractor to inspect the structure. He arrived with tools and a skeptical grin. Whispering walls, eh? Sounds like a horror flick. As he tapped along the baseboards, his mallet echoed hollow in places it shouldn't. False walls here, common in Victorians for storage. He pried open a panel in the hallway, revealing a narrow cavity stuffed with insulation, and something else. Bones. Small, fragile bones, wrapped in decayed cloth. The contractor stumbled back, cursing. Call the police, this ain't normal. The police came, cordoned off the house. Forensic teams confirmed the remains. 2 children, late 19th century, cause of death. Starvation. Elias Hawthorne's dark secret, hidden for over a century. The news dubbed it the House of Whispers, and reporters swarmed the street. Sarah and Mark stayed in a motel that night, but the whispers followed. In the sterile room, under buzzing fluorescent lights, Sarah heard them again, faint at first, then insistent. Not free, still trapped, with you. Mark heard them too. He paced the room, eyes wild. It's in our heads. We brought them with us. They tried to sleep, but the voices burrowed deeper, revealing fragments of the past. Elias's madness, his wife's affair, his children's pleas as he nailed the boards shut. Quiet now. Forever quiet. By dawn, Sarah was unraveling. She clawed at her arms, convinced the whispers were under her skin. Mark called a doctor, but before help arrived, she grabbed a knife from the motel's kitchenette. I have to let them out. Mark wrestled it away, but in the struggle, the blade sliced his palm. Blood dripped onto the carpet, and the whispers laughed, a guttural, echoing cackle. The doctor prescribed sedatives, diagnosing shared psychosis from trauma. Folie à deux, he called it. You'll recover with rest. But rest never came. Back at the house, cleared by authorities but now a crime scene, they had no choice but to return for their things. The walls were silent during the day, but as dusk fell, the chorus returned, more personal now. Sarah, you hide secrets too, like her. She froze. How did they know? The affair last year, a fleeting mistake with a coworker, buried deep. Mark didn't know, but now the whispers told him, hissing in his ear as he packed boxes. Betrayed, like us. Mark's face twisted in rage. Is it true? Sarah stammered denials, but the voices persisted, amplifying doubts. That night, as they argued in the kitchen, the walls pulsed, alive with malice. Shadows lengthened unnaturally, and the air grew thick, hard to breathe. We have to destroy it, Sarah whispered. Burn the house down. Mark, eyes glazed, nodded. But as they gathered gasoline from the garage, the whispers shifted. Join us. Become the walls. The fire started small, a flicker in the living room. But as flames licked the wallpaper, screams erupted, not from the fire, but from within. Human screams, agonized and eternal. Sarah and Mark backed away, but the doors slammed shut, locks twisting on their own. Smoke filled the halls, choking them. The walls bulged as if hands pressed from inside, fingerprints blooming in the paint. You freed us. Now we take you. Mark coughed, pounding on the door. Sarah clawed at the windows, nails breaking. Visions assaulted them. Elias's face superimposed over their own, laughing as his family withered. In the inferno's heat, Sarah saw the truth. The whispers weren't the victims. They were Elias. His madness, imprinted on the house, luring new souls to share his torment. The children weren't trapped. They were bait. Mark collapsed first, flames singeing his clothes. Sarah dragged him toward the basement, the only escape. But down there, in the damp darkness, the whispers were deafening. Welcome home. She felt it then, a pulling, as if her essence was being drawn into the foundations. Her screams merged with the others, echoing through the structure. Firefighters arrived too late. The house was a smoldering ruin, but strangely intact in parts. No bodies were found, only ash and echoes. Neighbors reported hearing whispers on windy nights, carried from the rubble. Years later, the lot was rebuilt, a modern condo. But tenants complain of murmurs in the walls, secrets revealed in the dead of night. And sometimes, if you listen closely, you hear names. Sarah, Mark, calling you to join them. The end? Or just the beginning?